Today, we went to see Thor, Love and Thunder. Really quick, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much, actually. This is the most fun, right? That I've had with an MCU film since, it feels like a long time since I've just had a genuinely good time, right? And I think I need to clarify what I mean by this, because it's not to say that the past couple of movies have been bad, although I guess we could say that they haven't been that good either. But it's not to say that any of them are bad. It's not to say that it's not to say that this film is not to be taken seriously. Also, if you want to go at it from the flip end. It's just that, it's just about the tone, right? It's with different movies, you get different experiences, right? And sometimes some movies you go into it and you're getting So yeah, some movies you go into it and you're getting a serious story, right? You're something where you're expected to take something away from it, whether it's a moral or something along those lines. With these MCU films in particular, sometimes you get movies where you're really focused on the overall picture, right, as opposed to the movie itself, right? You're watching it, you're watching the movie, thinking the whole time, just thinking how does this affect the greater MCU universe? How is this going to affect that? Is this guy going to appear later down the line in another MCU movie, right? Sometimes you get some of that, right? I just feel like the past couple of movies, namely Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, and what was before that? All right, so as far as we're just talking about phase 4, right? Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Before that it was Spider-Man. Before that, Eternals. Before that, Shang-Chi. And before that, the first one was Black Widow to start things off for phase 4. Yeah, especially, more so in my mind, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Eternals, right? Very different tones, right? In terms of the story that they're trying to sell, the movie, right, that's being shown. Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is very much leaning more towards horror elements, and they even try to put some scary stuff in there. But of course, everything is still being connected to the overall MCU, right? The Marvel Cinematic Universe. Eternals also very more of a drama, right? More of a dramatic type film, more focused on the relationship between these different new characters that we're being introduced to. Let's not talk about that. I would say even Spider-Man, man. I don't know. I just don't remember. You know what it was for Spider-Man, and I've mentioned this before. That was Spider-Man. I was just too hung up on the whole I was too hung up on what I thought was going to happen in the movie as opposed to what was actually happening, right? And I feel like this is something that could just kill your movie going experience right at the water, right? If you have an idea of what the movie's going to be, what's going to happen in the movie, how it's going to play out, and it turns out to be absolutely nothing like what you're expecting, it just takes a complete 180, just a complete hard left. That's it. You're done. Because the whole time for the rest of the movie, the rest of the time, the only thing you're going to be thinking about is damn, why is this happening? Why is this happening and not the way that I expected it to happen? So really, I think whenever that situation arises, I feel the only fair thing to do is to rewatch the movie. And I've been telling myself that I need to rewatch Spider-Man No Way Home. And I have it downloaded on my computer and everything. I have Disney Plus. Wait, it's not on Disney Plus. Scratch that. I have it downloaded on my computer. But yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but I should rewatch it because my experience watching No Way Home was hampered by that. So I'm taking No Way Home out of the table. I think so. Just taking those other ones that I mentioned into consideration: Eternals, Doctor Strange 2, Black Widow. Really, I feel like the last time that I remembered enjoying an MCU movie this much was with Shang-Chi. Yeah, I really liked that one. I thought it had good funny bits with the Mandarin that I really liked. And on top of that, it had the action, the fight choreography. It was just really good. I like that. Had some cool towards the end, just some crazy ass anime level ridiculousness going on. I thought it was a good time. I enjoyed my experience watching that. Right. So when we're talking about a movie, there's different things, right? There's different experiences to be had, right? You go into a drama, you're obviously gonna get something a little bit more, something that's gonna try to speak to more of your soul, I guess you could say, something more on the human level, right? Something that you can potentially relate to, right? That's kind of where a drama would draw most of its allure from, with the person watching being able to kind of relate to what's happening, right, based on their own personal experiences. So there's that experience, right? That's obviously an experience that's going to be more, I guess, more internal, more personal, right? There's an experience like Doctor Strange 2, where it was set up to be something that could have been really huge in regards to just the connectedness, right? The kind of the big picture of the MCU and what could happen later down the line, right? As far as who could be the big enemy that all the heroes are going to be against. um you know so that one was very, I think the experience of watching that movie, in addition to its kind of horror elements thrown in there, that one had that kind of that burden as well, right? The burden of uh, uh, connecting the threads, right, per se, with the MCU movies and just the MCU as a whole, as of this current point in time. And the experience watching Thor: Love and Thunder was very much like the experience that I had with Shang-Chi. It was just fun. It was just an enjoyable experience. It was just, I laughed. There were funny parts. There were cool looking parts, really cool looking parts. I was worried about uh the visual effects and stuff with based on the trailer, because when we got Thor in his blue and gold get up with the helmet, especially with the helmet. Yeah, and the trailer looked really goofy. Even there were even some parts in the trailer where Jane, right, with her helmet, you could tell it was CGI and it looked a little off. It's not the first time that it's happened as of recently, where I've seen graphical CG video effects in the trailers and they seem off. And then I go into the movie and I don't notice a thing, right? So I get the feeling that these, I don't know, that these visual effects just aren't made to be seen on the smaller screen with the lower bit rate. It's gonna stand out more. I don't know. I'm just convinced at this point, right? Because it's not the first time. And legit, it didn't seem off to me at all in the theater, right? Granted, you have to take into consideration as well that I'm watching this in 3D, so I feel like maybe the 3D kind of softens the blow a bit. Maybe, not sure about that, but it looked great. It looked great to me as far as visual effects and everything. Some really interesting stuff as far as lighting and coloring. Really cool stuff. Gore, gore. I feel like gore, especially. Oh, shadows, right? Shadow lighting. Some really cool stuff done. And I feel like gore, especially, just the way Taika like took advantage of like shadows and lighting, gore, and especially like took very big advantage with this, and just to kind of show off that kind of what's the word, that menacing air to like the villain character, right? Some shots were just like, oh, so cool, man. The coolest one for me was like when, oh yeah, when Thor, Jane, and Valkyrie like first go to like the Shadow Realm, which by the way, I can't even believe that's what it's called. Shout out to Yu-Gi-Oh, the creator. Unfortunately passed away today, so crazy. Yeah, so they first go there, and like no one's to be found. They're kind of like scoping out the area, and then they realize like what his plan is. And when Gore first appears, it's like down like a narrow corridor, and it's like really dark, and you don't even see him. The first thing that you see is like you kind of see like his hood, right? And some of the his clothing, and then his eyes. Immediately, like the first thing, his eyes are like the first thing to pop up. Really menacing, really cool. I love that imagery. It's so good. Yeah, so all these things just come together, right? Like you know, the humor, the fights, the visual effects, and the heart, right? The emotion, the story that they're telling, right? It kind of threw me off a bit, right? Because I was seeing the critic reviews. I think they went up like last week, so I saw a couple of them mention a lot of out of the ones that I saw, which were only a few, but they kind of all had this common thing where they were like emphasizing, right, that the movies is a comedy, right? And I know why they were doing that, right? I know they were doing that because some things play out in the movie in a way where you would just not expect it to play out at all, right? But I loved it. I did. Yeah. So for those people, right, I could understand why seeing that happen, right? Kind of with the expectation of what we've gotten out of the last chunk of MCU films, why that would like just throw them off kind of just like, yeah, just kind of like shake them, stun lock them, and be like, huh? Like, what is going on? This is not it. This is dumb. Like, what? I can easily see, I know, I could already tell that like there's going to be several point of views like that, and they're not going to like it. They're just straight up not going to like the not the finale, but like the closer to finale, right? I can clearly see like where those people are coming from, or where they will be coming from. And thus I understand why the critics were like kind of emphasizing that, like, I guess kind of like to get people like prepared mentally, like, guys, this is a comedy, okay? Don't expect it to be like, don't expect the seriousness of it to be on the same level as like what we've gotten in the past couple of films, right? With like Doctor Strange. Although I would argue that Doctor Strange, as far as seriousness goes, I mean, the only like seriousness there is like the kind of like the horror elements. But because other than that, there were some moments that were very campy, very just like almost borderline cringe, and very much kind of like took you out of the experience. So not that far off from what we got in this movie, in my opinion. But yeah, I understand why the critics were doing that. But at the same time, I feel like it undermines what the movie really is also, because it is a comedy. Sure, it does make you laugh. There are great moments, great fights, like any other superhero movie, great effects. But on top of that, the story, right? It's a very touching, it's very genuine, it's just a very nice story about love, right? About Thor and his relationship with love, and, you know, what he's been through, right? And it was nice. It was nice. It was just genuinely nice. And I think to like just focus on the fact alone that it's a comedy is definitely underplaying the the movie and its message, right? All of these things come together, right? And it's just an overall just it's a ride. It's an experience, right? It's not just like this thing where it's like a drama where you're just kind of like sitting down, where you're kind of just like, where it's all like very emotional, right? It's everything. It's so many of these different things. Just it's like the best way I can explain it is like it's like an amusement park ride, right? Um, you're laughing at moments, at moments you're kind of like, what's going on? Bewilderment, shock, amazement. It's just everything, and just constantly you're going through it, and it's a ride. At the end of the day, like a lot of movies, I feel like, especially with like these, with these movies that have more of a of like really big fandoms, right? It's like the MCU movies. I want to make the correlation to the Jurassic Park movies, having watched recently Jurassic World Dominion and seeing the majority of the critic reviews for that movie as well being more on the negative side. More on the negative side, right? I am more of the mindset that, it doesn't have to be that deep. You can sacrifice some of that kind of like interconnectedness that, what do you call it? Kind of like, I guess, quote unquote seriousness, right? Considering the material, right? Of that world, of that universe, of that story, you can kind of put that to the side a little bit at times, for the sake of just doing something fun, right? I feel like that's what Thor did. I feel like that's what this movie did. And because of that, there's going to be people that are just not on board with it, right? That just are not going to like it because it does that, because it, kind of just like, puts to the side the again, quote unquote seriousness of everything that's going on, and it's a little bit more goofy, focusing a little bit more on laughs. Yeah, some people are just not going to be for that, right? Just for that fact alone, right? And other people like myself are going to love it. I feel like I want to say that like the more casual moviegoer will enjoy it. I would say. I think that's just a theory. These movies aren't that deep, It's cool that they're like interconnected and that like they tell a story on a larger scale, right? All that stuff is cool. It's really cool. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with just like, kind of like putting that to the side, as long as you're going to tell, as long as it's going to be a good movie, as long as it's going to be like a fun, entertaining movie, right? And another thing that comes with this is the fact that sense of humor is subjective, right? What's funny to me isn't funny to, so and so down the street. So for that and this movie, there is a lot of that. There is a lot of that. There is a lot of like just jokes being made, jokes being cracked. And yeah, for some people it's gonna hit. For some people it's gonna be great, and others are just not for it. They're not gonna enjoy it. I would say the best comparison is Thor Ragnarok. Same characters, same director, very much the same type of vibe. If anything, I would say this movie kind of actually goes a little bit more like, it kind of leans even more into like the comedy aspect of it, as far as like the jokes and everything. I would say there's a lot more Korg, a lot more. Granted, if I'm thinking about it now, and there was a good amount of Korg in Ragnarok too, wasn't there? Well, no, not really. They were just like, they interacted in the arena, and that's pretty much it. Whereas here, Korg is very much like an essential like person in this movie. Yeah. So right off the bat, if you like were not a fan of Ragnarok and its humor, right? Its style of humor, if you're just not a fan of like Taika Waititi's style of humor and the jokes that he that are made in his movies, you're more than likely not gonna have a good time here. Straight up. Because it is very heavy on that. It is very heavy on his sense of humor, his brand of humor, and I mean him himself, because you know he's Korg, so yeah. And there's a lot more Korg. Me, I love Korg. Ever since Ragnarok, I thought he was amazing. I thought he was great in Endgame also. Meek, I also love Meek. He didn't get as much time to shine this time. That's all right. We saw him in a suit. He's doing well. Go off. You do you, King. I love those two. I don't know. I just really enjoy the characters, and some people don't. And yeah, that's just what it comes down to. You know, all these things are just opinions. Sorry, right? But yeah, overall, it was just fun. Very enjoyable. I laughed. I was kind of like worried for like a couple of the scenes there. I was sad sometimes. It just did it all. It did it all. I feel like it did it all in a balanced manner, in a manner where it made sense, story wise, where you were going from like beat to beat, point to point. Yeah, it kind of feels like I have to like apologize for like enjoying the film, right? Because I already like see that there's going to be a good amount of people that are not so on board with it, but hey, that's just what all this stuff comes down to, right? It's all opinions. It's all, you know, some people will like it and some people will just not. It's just how it is. So I'm going to get into more specifics now. Christian Bale was great, right? Starting the movie off. Oh, yeah, my notes. I forgot. I took my notebook again. All right, let's see what ridiculousness came out of the scribbling in the dark this time around. Gore is cool. Yeah. Cool opening. I really like the opening. I really like both openings actually, because there's essentially like two openings. The very first opening with, you know, kind of introducing us to Gore and his story and what he's been through and what he's about and how he gets the Necrozord. And starts going on his war path, right? I thought it was cool. I thought it was really well done. Christian Bale is just one of those actors that can just make you feel things, bro. It's just like, and bro, it's a powerful thing. It's a very powerful thing that you can, bro, like the first, literally like the first 2 minutes, the first like 2 to 5 minutes of the film. And I'm already feeling things, you know? And it's just like, wow, you know, not anyone can just pull that off, you know? And credits to Christian Bale. He's just phenomenal at what he does. And yeah, he just immediately, right at the start of the film, just able to just like pull you in right away and just like make you care about what's going on the screen, right? And also the Thor introduction, right? We you know, Korg, he starts narrating, talking about Thor. We see him, you know, how he we get that little recap, right? And which I think is also very important because you know, as far as like the relationship that he's had with the different people in his life, losing those relationships, right? Losing those bonds, losing his mom, his dad, his brother, having gone through a lot of loss, and it has a big effect, right? It plays a big part to play in this movie of what like Thor is like feeling, what he's about. And I thought it was really well done. Yeah, it was well done, and it was funny as well because of course, you know, whenever Korg is involved, you know, you're automatically already getting like jokes thrown in there and such. So I'd enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was fun. Just like his kind of like what do we call it? Kind of like a recap. Yeah, like Korg's little recap. Thor recap, and then actually getting to the moment where we see, you know, Thor, right? How he is after what he's been through, and seeing him rolling with the Guardians and just having a good time. It seems, you know, he's kind of like disconnected from things, right? He's done that on purpose. That's kind of what the whole movie's about, right? Him just kind of like keeping things at bay and just, but at the same time, just, still doing what he has to do, right? And it was perfect. I feel like it was perfect, like a perfect introduction to like Thor as a character, like where we're at with him, right? Like mentally, spiritually, you can even say, and thus like setting him up for like what the kind of like the journey that he's going to go through throughout this movie. Great, fantastic. And then I think immediately after that we get the Jane's introduction, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think after that we see Jane and everything that she's going through, and the cancer, and yeah, and her getting to Mjolnir, and Darcy. Darcy showed up. I didn't expect Darcy to be there. That was really cool to see her. I was happy to see Darcy. Anytime Darcy shows up in anything in the MCU is always a good time. What does this say? They play is back. Oh, the play. That's right. Oh man, again. So again, this is one of the things that like just like, and it's very forward about it, right? It's very forward. You're hitting a lot of the same beats that you wore with like Thor Ragnarok, right? So if you weren't a fan of Thor Ragnarok, you're very more than likely not gonna enjoy this. But yeah, just like taking something like pretty much just as it was, from Thor Ragnarok, the play. And I love that they just like kind of added to it, So in Thor Ragnarok, they were doing the play of what happened in Thor 2, and now we were getting the play of what happened in Thor 3, in Thor Ragnarok, right? So we have again Matt Damon reprising his role, which is nuts. But yeah, Matt Damon is there again as one of the actors playing Loki. It's just so good. But yeah, it's the same type of beat, right? So it's like kind of like just playing the hits again, right? So it's kind of like if you loved it the first time, you'll love it again. If you thought it was dumb the first time, then you're not gonna like it this time, right? Only this time they expanded to it by having Hela, right? Hela also showed up in the play, played by, I'm pretty damn sure that was Melissa McCarthy. So that's pretty damn funny. It was great, man. Yeah, I enjoy it. I enjoy those like dumb little things. So, Sif, Lady Sif showed up, which I did not expect, but because I thought she was dead. Yeah, I very much thought she was dead. I thought she died with the other. I thought they killed all the people in the Warriors 3, but apparently they didn't. It was just the other dudes, apparently. And apparently I looked it up before going live, and apparently Lady Sif was like off planet during Thor Ragnarok. So she didn't go through any of that. She was like doing something else. But yeah, she was there. It was cool to see her, right? So she showed up. Thor goes to help her out. She's like she's kind of like one of the first people to stumble upon like Gore and like what he's been up to with like killing the gods and such. So Thor gets to her. She lets him know what's going on, and then to let him know that Asgard is his next target, right? That essentially Thor is the next one to go. And then that's when the reunion happens, right? That's when Thor meets up with Jane again and Valkyrie, and they're all on New Asgard, and we see what New Asgard's been up to with like Valkyrie being king, and it's modernization. Can we say it's commercialization, which I thought was very, I don't know, that in itself, I thought it was very funny. Just like the cruise ships being there, and like them like the ice cream shop that was being opened up. I thought that was hilarious. Then they head off. They need they figure that they need like an army to go up against Gore, because Gore can summon these shadow monsters, right? So of course they're gonna need like some numbers to help them out. Before I like get too ahead of myself, that first kind of encounter, right? It's very interesting because you see Gore and he looks kind of like frail, so when he first started fighting Thor in that first encounter there in New Asgard, I did not expect him to move the way that he did. Yeah. It was satisfying to say the least. It was, yeah. He definitely seemed like a threat, you know. Like just looking at Gore, you kind of think like, okay, like he seems like very sickly, and there was a reason for that because he's literally on the brink of death, right? The sword is killing him. But yeah, he had moves. He had moves. He was able to keep up with Thor, and they were going head to head, and it was a cool fight. I liked it. Jane was really cool. I like the like the concept of the of Mjolnir, you know, kind of like being in pieces and now being able to like split apart now that it's cracked as it is, and each one of those like little pieces being able to like knock out, do damage, right, and then it coming all together again to form the hammer as a whole, right? I like that. I like Jane's character. I like Natalie Portman. I like her performance there. I think she did very well. Moving on, they go to the gods. They go to like the what was it called? The Omnipotent City. Kind of like this city or planet where like all the gods kind of just like hang out and chill. And it was very interesting to see like all kind of like I think they're going to be over the days. There's going to be like some more like kind of like Easter eggs there that are going to be like spotted and pointed out. I saw a Bast. She was actually sat like right in front of where Thor and Jane and Valkyrie and Korg were sitting. So right in front, down was Bast. But she didn't have like any like she didn't have any lines. She wasn't even mentioned, right? She was just there, right? So if you could have actually easily missed that, but yeah, she was there, which is cool. Thinking about like what the second Black Panther movie can show down the line, but that was cool. But yeah, since she was mentioned in like casting, I remember she was like mentioned in like some casting news, or like she was mentioned online at least, that like the so and so actress was going to be playing Bast. I would imagine she would have had like a bigger role to play, but literally nothing. She was just like a cameo, just like there in the background, literally. What else was there? The big like snake thing that we see in the God of War video game, which I forget the name of. I know I always forget the name. Let me look it up. Well, the World Serpent. Yeah, Jormungandr. I'm pretty damn sure that was him. Or if it wasn't him, that was another like big ass snake there. So I don't know how many big ass snake gods there are, but yeah, that definitely looked like him. And I'm sure there were a couple other ones. I know sitting next to Boss was kind of like a more of like it looked like the dude from Mortal Kombat X. I don't know. I think maybe he was supposed to be like Tenochtitlan, or like I think like the Aztec god. I think maybe that's who he was supposed to be. But yeah, he looked really cool too. But yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be like little like Easter eggs spotted there. There were a lot of like different characters there. It was cool to see. But of course, the main one that we were focusing on there was Zeus, Russell Crowe's Zeus. I didn't expect him to like play him with the accent that he was playing him with, but again, it's you just gotta like you can't be too serious with these things, right? Just kind of roll with it, see where it goes. You know, that's funny. It did seem like a bit of a kind of like, okay, like what was the whole like? Was there even a point in like going there? Right? It did kind of feel like that a little bit. But again, it's just like, you know, it's just a movie. You got to get like from place to place sometime. No, you know what was really off? Like them going there, the reasoning for them going there makes sense, right? Because they needed an army, which they were hoping to get with like the gods to help them out, since they were literally the ones that were at risk. But of course, you know, the gods are the gods. So it made sense why they went there. What didn't make sense was actually the reason was Zeus not wanting to let them go at the end, right? Because there was actually, even when he was like kind of like yeah, as he was kind of like lecturing Thor, he was saying like each god has its own like people that they look over and like their problems, their problems are their problems, right? We're not here to like help each other out or anything like that. So he was saying that. So essentially he was saying like, piss off, go figure it out yourself. But then after the fact, he was saying, you're like, well, now you guys like, where we're at. So, it's kind of a risk. So you're better off staying here. So yeah. It was basically just like essentially giving them a reason to kind of like go at it and for that whole like fight sequence to play out there. A really weak reason, right? I will admit it because it makes absolutely no sense. Because essentially, because if you go by that logic, any god is a risk, right? Because I'm sure all the gods were aware of like omnipotent city and like where it was at. So yeah, if you go by that reasoning, it was kind of weak, right? But again, I don't think it was anything huge. I don't think it was anything like kind of like to make the I don't think it was anything that hindered the overall like story that the message was trying to that the movie was trying to tell, right? Yeah, sometimes you just got to get from like sometimes you just got to get things to happen and like it's not going to be as smooth or maybe like it's not going to make as much sense as like some other things, but I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's like as long as you get like the final message through, right? And as long as like what plays towards that final message in particular, as long as like that's like solid, then you're good. At the end of the day, that little like trip to Omnipotent City was a bit of a detour, kind of just like a fun little like detour. And then, I feel like that's movies at the end of the day. That's kind of like what movies should be. It's there are at least movies like this, right? It's an adventure, right? You're going on an adventure, and yeah, a lot of times on adventures you'll find just like little tangents, little like things that happen on the side that just don't matter as much, So I don't know. I think it's fine. I think it's fine that like kind of like some of the stuff happening there doesn't play as much of an impact to the overall story, and that it doesn't the transitioning between what's happening there isn't as strong as maybe some of the other stuff that's happening in the rest of the movie, or maybe just compared to other movies in general, right? I think that's fine. Some other people though may not be as forgiving, right, or as accepting, and that's perfectly fine, right? I think that would be a fair point to kind of like point out from that whole sequence, from that whole scene. But yeah, it just comes down to like how much are you willing to let that fact kind of just like hinder your experience overall, I guess, your enjoyment, right? Some people more so than others. So but yeah, I thought it was fine. I thought, yeah, more than anything, it was just kind of like a fun little like sidetrack. At the end of it, they got the Zeus's Thunderbolt, right, which turned out to play a pivotal role for the rest of the movie, which was kind of unexpected. But I mean, if anything, it kind of reinforces the idea that like they didn't go there just for nothing, So you could use that to kind of like argument for their little trip and their little encounter with Zeus there. So yeah, they get the Thunderbolt and they go. Oh, I didn't mention the Guardians. Well, the Guardians didn't do all that much to be honest, right? If anything, it was more like it was more Star-Lord more than anyone, right? I think overall you could tell that like as far as like the vibe, right? The Guardians weren't really feeling too much what Thor was like dishing out there, right? They were kind of like seemed like they were more happy, or at the very least, nonchalant about like them parting ways there, right? But yeah, I think overall the Guardians didn't play like a huge role to play there. I think they kind of showed a little bit of their wackiness, what they're usually known for, right? But that's it, not too much else. Oh, they got the goats there too. They got the goats from from the very start of the movie as the kind of as the rewards, right? You got to think whether it was actually a reward or a punishment, right? Because did seem pretty miffed about the way Thor handled the whole situation, kind of bringing down their sacred city. Yeah, just bringing it to a literal ash and rubble. Yeah, so kind of seems like giving them those goats was kind of like a little bit of a jab back for him doing that. But I love the kind of like the reoccurrence of the goats constantly, like every time they started traveling with them to the different places, right? To Omnipotent City, and then to where Gore was at in the Shadow Realm. And whenever they would arrive, you would just hear the goats just like scream at the top of their lungs. I thought that was great. I don't know. I'm sure people will think it's stupid and childish, but I don't know. I think it's great. From that point, we get finally, like, I guess the actual real like talk between Jane and Thor, right? And Thor is kind of like just kind of unloads himself, says that he misses her, wants to take advantage of the time that they can have together. She reveals to him that she is sick, and unfortunately that her time is counted. Her days are numbered, and yeah, you start to get this. So this is what I mean by like all that other stuff, the stuff with Zeus and everything going on there, the little kind of like detour stuff, the stuff that doesn't matter as much, that stuff it's all right if it's not as what's the word, as compelling, right? I feel like as long as you have like the core of what the movie was about, as long as that is like compelling, as long as that is done well, then you're good. What happens outside of that is kind of just like, it's kind of fodder, and this is what I meant by that, because that little moment right there was really nice, and I felt it. I felt that like kind of like that connection, that frustration, right, of Thor kind of finally coming to the realization that like, okay, this is something that I think would be worth how he says in the movie, feeling shitty for, right? This is something that would be worthwhile to kind of like go through the ups and downs and tribulations, which is all really what love is at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, we're all people. We all make mistakes. We're all imperfect. There's always going to be issues. There's always going to be problems, right? And nothing is perfect. No relationship is perfect, right? At the end of the day, it's not about like finding the perfect person or the person that like fits you the best or anything like that. At the end of the day, it just comes down to what you're willing to put up with, right? And whether putting up with that is worth it or not. That's what it comes down to. That's what love is, right? That's what love truly is. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad that he finally gets to that realization right there that like, okay, like this is, it's not easy, right? But I feel like it's worth it, And he finally like makes his declaration, and then immediately she drops the bombshell, right? And he's kind of like, he's taken aback, he's stun locked, and she kind of, I love this moment, especially where she kind of like tries to play it off, right? Where she's like, no, I'm joking, when he talking, like, come on, no, don't worry, it was just a joke. But he can tell, obviously. I thought it was nice. I thought that moment was like just super sincere, super done well. It was nice, and I feel like at the end of the day, that's what this movie was about. It was about that. It was about about the love between Jane and Thor, and just love in general, I guess you can say. Also, because also Gore, right? Gore's story was revolved entirely entirely around love as well, right? The love he had for his daughter as he was out there in that barren wasteland, the love that he had for, a god that was just merciless and not willing to, to help in any way, shape, or form, right? That's all it was about. It was just kind of like two sides of the same coin of as far as love, right? And at the very end of it, I know I'm fast forwarding, but yeah, at the very end of it all, Thor choosing to kind of just like take advantage of the opportunity to experience and have that love, and Gore choosing to go down the route of revenge, right? Kind of or where I'm sure like many people can relate with, right? Just going through that experience of having lost love and just kind of wanting to take it out on the world and on everything, right? Just kind of feeling like nothing's worth it, like everything should just burn, right? But it was nice that at the end of it all, he was able to come to that realization that it's not the best path to go down on, right? As we've seen countless times in numerous different stories and movies and TV shows and different types of media. Um, revenge usually never, leads down a path where you're going to feel any better about the situation that you're in, right? So it was nice. It was nice kind of having that moment where, Gore finally comes to that full circle, to that realization where, like, this isn't going to get me anywhere. So instead of, continuing this rampage that I've been on, I'm going to take advantage of the few final moments that I can get here with the one person that I cared about the most. And I thought that was really nice. So I think as far as that being like the core message of the movie, everything that attributed to that just worked really well. The chemistry between Jane and Thor worked really well. Their performances were good. I think Christian Bale in particular. I think his performance, and just because honestly, yeah, man, you can have a story like this and you can just not give a damn, right? If the actors don't portray it in a way where like you feel like it actually matters or like any of it matters, then at the end of the day, is a message like that can be completely moot, and it could not mean anything at the end of the day. But I think Christian Bale in particular, right? Because I think Thor, he has the advantage of like the history, right? Everything we know about Thor, and Jane kind of gets that too, because we know about their story. We know, that they were together and then they split up, right? So they have a history. That's an advantage, right? That's an advantage that they had to work with, an advantage that Gore and Christian Bale and his character didn't have, right? They were starting from ground zero, scratch, right? In this movie alone, we are being introduced to Gore, his struggle, his strife, and in the time span of this movie, which is, a runtime of like just shy of 120 minutes. So in less than 2 hours, while at the same time sharing screen time with the protagonist and all the other characters, we have to care about him. We have to care about his story, and his struggle and his strife and what he's been through and what he's trying to, and what he's trying to get to at the end of the day. And I think if you don't have an actor like Christian Bale playing Gore, it's really hard to pull that off. So the strength in the performances, especially Christian Bale, all added very much so to the just how compelling the message, the overall message, the core message of the movie was. So yeah. Other things to kind of point out, I mentioned like the visuals. There was a lot of cool stuff there, especially once they got to the Shadow Realm, right? Because you see the moment when they're like coming in on riding on the Bifrost on the ships with the goats pulling them. and you see the moment where the color is literally drained away, right? Everything becomes black and white. And yeah, just the black and white in general is just like really cool. It's just it made for like a very interesting like visuals, right? I will say once the fight actually started, right, when Thor started fighting Gore and Valkyrie um and Jane started fighting the shadow monsters there. Um, I got a little lost in it all because the camera started like doing some like upside down shots, and like if at one moment it actually looked very video gamey. It looked very much like a cutscene from a video game. Um, so I don't know if that's good or bad. I kind of want to like rewatch that to see. It was kind of just it's just an observation at this point, but yeah. Overall, I like the aestheticness of it. As far as the actual like, graphical effects, yeah. Um Interesting. A lot of interesting choices made there. Let's say that. But I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool just for the sake of, yeah, but sometimes just shake it up. Just do something different just for the sake of it, It's just, why not? Just why not? It's different. It's not like killing the movie, so go for it. It was kind of stupid, right? Um them knowing, or at least Thor knowing, that Gore's objective was the was Stormbreaker, so essentially he could have control of the Bifrost, right? That being his ultimate target, right? For what he was trying to do. So yeah, it seemed kind of dumb that knowing that you would activate the Bifrost right in front of him, right? Like I understand they're trying to escape, but it just seemed really dumb for that to happen. Now that I think about it, maybe they're like the transitions, like as far as like how we get from like point A to point B to like point C. The little like transitions between, maybe they're not the best. Now that I'm starting to think about it, there were like a lot of like kind of like just dumb things. Yeah. It seemed like really silly for like Thor to do that like right in front of him, because obviously it happened, right? What you thought was what happened, right? Gore, he came in and he took advantage, and while they were being transported on the Bifrost, and he got Stormbreaker. So yeah, that was a little dumb, but of course that kind of just like so leads to our little what's the word, the pre-climax, right? The kind of like the lull that you get before the ultimate climax at the end. Yeah, so we get that moment where Jane's really not doing well. She's hospitalized, and yeah, they have another moment, which is again really nice, where Thor's just kind of his fears coming out, right? Of losing her, again, a fear that he's already felt before, and man, it was nice. It was just really nice, because that whole situation, right? That whole scenario of like, you have this person that like you love, you want to take time, you want to like spend time with, right? But you know that it's not going to last, right? And then you have to, and the fact that they're like in this battle, right? He has to then like weigh the options, right? Whether to like have her help, right? And kind of have that time mitigated or depleted even faster than it would be otherwise, or have her stay back, and then potentially you're putting yourself at risk, right? Because you're gonna go into it alone, right? It's gonna be more risky, but then hopefully by the end of it all, being able to spend more time with that person in particular. I thought it was just a very real struggle. I thought, something very real to like kind of just consider, right? And I thought it was played well, especially with like kind of like, yeah, I like especially the way Chris Hemsworth played it off, I think what I especially liked the most was the moment where she comes to help him, right? Because as soon as she like shows up there, as soon as he realizes that she's there to help, he knows, and you can see it in his face. Like he realizes, like, fuck, this is it. You know, they both realize it. They both know it, right? They look at each other and they know, like, yeah, this is it, right? I thought that was nice. I thought that was really good. I thought it was really well done. At the end of the day, you know what it comes down to? I'm a stupid romantic and I'm just a sucker for like love stories like this. It really is. I am just a big sucker for this stuff. It's the same reason that I love WandaVision so much. Yeah. It's just a love story at the end of the day. So then we have our final encounter. Thor goes off on his own. Jane stays at the start. She meets up later on. Which, by the way, when they started fighting together, Jane and Thor against Gore, I thought that was really cool, bro. That was really freaking cool, man. Just like having two Thors go at it like that. Boom. So I thought it was really cool. It actually gave me like urges to play Marvel's Avengers again. But now, to address the elephant in the room, if you will, the one moment where I feel like people will have the most like trouble accepting, the moment that people are just going to be the most like, huh, what is happening? Hell, even I reacted like that when I saw Thor like passing like the like essentially giving the power to the kids so that they can help him with his so that they can help him go up against Gore and the shadow monsters. When I saw that, I was legit. I was like, "What the hell is happening?" Oh man, yeah, that was out of line. That was out of just like that was the shit that you were not expecting in a million years. I'm like, anybody that like made predictions for this movie, made a bingo card, anything like that, anything of the sort, just no one saw this coming for sure. I mean, I think anyone's initial reaction is kind of be like, what is this actually happening? That's what I said. Is this actually happening? Literally. Basically, from that point on, you're either completely out of it. It just completely threw you out. You saw that and you're just like, what the fuck is this? And you're just not on board with it at all. Or you decide, okay, why not? Let's go with it. And you proceed to see the kids kick some ass. I thought it was fine. It was great. Like, I won't lie. The initial reaction was definitely like, I can't believe this is happening. But yeah, just let it play out. Why not? Why not? Why not have the kids like? Why not have all the kids become mini Thors first, essentially, and start beating up on all the bad guys? Why not? Tell me. Give me one good reason why not. I thought it was fine. It was funny. It was funny. You start like seeing all the little kids like beating them up with like all their little like their toys. Some of them just like picked up some stuff that like some like rubble and rocks like some stuff that was there, and some of them had like their own like toys, like stuffed animals and wands that they were using that they infused with their power. It was fun, man. It was just like fun, and why not? Again, it comes back to the point that I was making earlier, right? If it's not like affecting the kind of like the core message that you're trying to deliver with the movie, then why not? So I thought it was fine. But I do think it's the one thing that's probably going to turn the people off the most about the movie. It's going to be the one thing that like people are just going to like not be on board with. The one thing that's kind of like piss people off, right? To some extent. And I think it's the reason that like the critics were kind of like prefacing, right, everything by saying like, guys, it's a comedy. Remember, it's a comedy, right? I think they were like setting us up for that because of that moment in particular, right? Because yes, that moment is just pure ridiculousness, and it's just not to be taken seriously compared to like so many other things that have been happening in the MCU recently. Going back to what I mentioned earlier, if it's not affecting like the core like story, right? Which really like the core story is like Thor, Jane, and Gore, right? And that moment with the kids, it has no effect, right? Really, they just needed somebody the purpose that that plays is so that they have so that someone is able to go up against the shadow monsters while Thor can focus on Gore, right? And that's what the kids there did. That was their role. That was their goal. That's what they did. Um, and I see no issue with it. I see no issue at all. And it's. I know some. I know a lot. I think a good amount of people are gonna have issue with it, but I thought it was good. I thought it was funny, right? I thought it was a good, funny moment. So like, so why not? Yeah. These things are again. These things are not that deep, right? Just have a good time. That's what it's about. And that's probably one of the things that I liked the most about this movie. It was just you just felt that you just felt like they were having a good time. You know, they were just having a good time making it. You know, making us the audience laugh, making us um excited and in enjoying um get enjoyment from what was being shown in the movie. I felt that. I think that's what they were going for, and I felt that. And I think at the end of the day, that's like with any piece of art or media, I think that's the end goal, right? To kind of like transmit your message, transmit your even more beyond to just your message, beyond your feelings, right? Your kind of like the inherent nature of the whatever it is that you're making, right? Um, Kind of just like transfusing that emotion, right? And that's why I like this movie. Yeah, I think they did a great. And that moment right there was just like the perfect like epiphany of that, or the perfect like example, right? Thor had their fight again. I thought like Jane coming back and them having kind of like that look between them that like they both knew like this is it, this is her time. Um, Having to fight, I thought it was cool just having like both Thors there beating up on Gore like that. Eventually, Gore does get to eternity, right? And Thor is able to like convince him otherwise. I thought it was nice. I thought it was well done. I thought it served very well to the overall message that they were trying to deliver. We get a nice like a little, a nice emotional moments there at the end. Thor with Jane, Gore with his daughter, and then we have the epilogue conclusion where we see Thor has it's nice that at the end of it all like Thor is has that kind of like emptiness like filled up with an unlikely source, right? Something that we just like I don't think anyone saw coming, right? That Thor would be taking on the parental role for essentially eternity personified. Yeah. Again, something that I don't think anyone had on their bingo cards on their predictions for this movie, but I think it's something that works really well. I think it ties to the whole the overall story, the main message of the film, which is like Thor and his love, right? It was nice. It was nice. And as far as like the post credits go, what was the first one? Oh, oh man, I wonder what they're gonna do with that, if anything. Yeah, that is very interesting. I feel like the MCU is at this point where it's like it's gotten so big. There are so many different like characters, so many different like universes, so many different things going on that I feel like they are essentially at the liberty of kind of like teasing things in the post credit scenes, and they've actually already done it if you think about it. And I'll mention how in a sec, but I feel like they're at the point where they can just like throw things out in the post credit scenes of the movies and have them not lead up to anything. And they did that essentially they've already done it with Doctor Strange, right? With the after credits, Doctor Strange, we see Mordo is like scheming up a plan, presumably very clearly to like tell us that he's going to be like the bad guy, the next big baddie for Doctor Strange. Um, and no, it didn't turn out like that, right? Why? Because plans change, right? I'm sure like when Doctor Strange come out, they didn't have like everything planned as far as like Wanda and like Scarlet Witch and everything they were gonna do with her and how they would, combine, unite those two characters and everything they would end up going through. I'm sure they had none of that like in place or in mind at the time, And I kind of get the feeling where, yeah, the same kind of thing can happen with this, right? With what they showed us in this post credit with Hercules, it can just ultimately amount to nothing, or it can amount to like a joke, right? I think that happened. I know there's an example of that. There was like something introduced in a post credit, and then like the movie where it was actually shown, it was just like it was there for like a second and then gone. What was it? I'm trying to think. I can't remember right now, but I know they've done it. Essentially, they're at this point where it doesn't matter. They can do whatever, right? Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see. Like, I feel like I don't know. I'm kind of getting the feeling that like at this point, the Marvel movies are just doing the post credit scenes just because they feel they kind of have to, because they were the ones that kind of like did it, like started things off doing it, and now they just have to keep it going, right? Um, but at the end of the day, I don't know. As each new like Marvel movie comes out, I just can't help but feel that like the post credit scenes become like less and less interesting and less important, you know? In the beginning it was like really like super cool because that was never done. Like you didn't see that in movies. That was nuts, right? The first time when Iron Man was in theaters and and at the end of it we get the teaser for what was the one it was after which one that we got a teaser for Thor? It was after the Hulk one, wasn't it? I think at the end of Iron Man we got a teaser for Hulk. And then at the end of Hulk, we got a teaser for Thor, right? I think that's how it was. It was a long time ago. But yeah, back then, that was awesome because that was just completely unheard of. That was just bonkers. And then like it all culminates to like the post credits in Avengers where we see Thanos, right? Like that was just like probably like the biggest one where it's just like, whoa, it's getting real. It's about to pop off. And then, of course, it would in fact not pop off for another what? What was the time from which Avengers came out to Avengers Infinity War? 10 years, give or take. Yeah. So, anyway, long time. But that was then. It was exciting then. It was new. But nowadays, I feel like it's just like it doesn't really matter. Like the post credit for Doctor Strange, like Clea, Cleo, or Cleo. I think it's Cleo, right? The one that shows up at the end of Doctor Strange 2. I didn't care. I don't care. Like it's just like who is that? First of all, I didn't even know who it was. I'm sure there were people that knew, but it's like I don't know. Like who cares? I don't know. I liked the post credit scene with Pizza Papa Pizza. I like that better. Because it was a character that was in the movie, so I actually like recognized them, and I knew like, and it was funny, right? Yeah. So the Hercules tease is kind of like it's something that it's like okay, it's cool, right? It's cool that it's there, but again, whether they actually end up doing anything with it, we'll have to wait and see, right? So it's kind of like whatever. But the other post credit scene, I feel like that one was a little bit more solidified, I will say. So again, it does involve characters that we're already familiar with that were actually in the movie, plus a character that we are familiar with and wasn't in the movie. Heimdall showed up. That was nice to see him again, and to see that he ended up where he ended up. So we see Jane, which was pretty obvious or at least it was obvious to me when she died that she would be going to Valhalla, right? Because when she died, she dissipated in like gold dust, the same way that Odin did. Um, but yeah, in the post credit, we actually get the confirmation that she ends up in Valhalla, and that's cool. And Heimdall's there too, and it's kind of cool because it kind of leaves them, kind of leaves the possibility on the table that that they can come back, and especially Jane, right? Because that would be, I think it would be cool to like have her come back in some shape, way or form, in some capacity. I think it would be good because I thought it was really enjoyable, her character, and yeah. So I hope I hope something becomes of that more than the Hercules tease. But yeah, I think I pretty much already like touched on the main thing regarding the movie, where as far as the message of like love that it was kind of that I was delivering, and how much I liked it, and how much I am a big just sucker for romance. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder, best movie ever, and that's that.